Hello and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video I will be reacting to the YouTuber GlitterandLazers. This video is about a year old, but I found it interesting mostly because of the title and the description and also the comments.
Hey everybody, my name is Anna, aka GlitterandLazers, and welcome back to my channel. Okay, I am starting off the new year in the rawest and realist way I can. I am talking about something that makes me incredibly uncomfortable. So I want you guys to bear with me as I go through this. I'm going to try to be as eloquent as I possibly can, but I'm probably going to screw it up, and I'm okay with that because I am tired of trying to be perfect. And I am tired of trying to get everybody to like me because
When has this woman ever fucking been perfect or ever strived to be perfect?
guess what? I'm not for everybody. And some people are just going to hate me, no matter if I am the nicest, kindest, most charitable, most thoughtful person in
Nobody hates you. First of all, nobody hates you. I don't hate Anna. Oh, I think her name is Anna O'Brien. I don't hate you. People criticizing your lack of weight loss despite being a weight loss or a fat influencer is not hate. That's just reality. If you don't lose weight, if you continue to not lose weight, you being this size on the internet and pretending like being this size on the internet is not a problem, and having people criticize that behavior is not hate. That's just reality. What is it with these people always talking about any kind of valid criticism of them is hate? You are almost 40 fucking years old and you can't stand to be disagreed with. Somebody help me to understand people who can't stand to be disagreed with. What does that feel like to exist in a body like that? What does it feel like to have a brain like that? I don't understand it. I don't relate to it. So she already starting out with the fucking manipulation. I can't stand people like that.
in the world, there are going to be people that still hate me.
And by the way, nobody who is nice and kind and thoughtful has to say it out loud. It's just understood.
So I am tired of trying to people please because it's a fruitless effort. I will never get there, and that's okay. So with that tone and with that introduction to this video, today I'm going to talk about my health. So about a year and a half ago, I thought I was ready to talk about health. I thought I was ready to expose myself. I thought I was prepared for anything that would come to me as a result of talking about it. So on July 28th, 2020, I posted a video. I think it was called something like weight loss, diets, and etc. And then I posted 2 subsequent videos. I did not anticipate the amount of discussion this would generate online. I didn't think anyone would care. I did expect a couple.
This woman has like 1.8 million subscribers on her channel. She has a whole website forum dedicated to talking about her, and she didn't think anybody would care or that it would get any attention, but she posted it on social media with the expressed purpose of getting... Do y'all see what my point is? This person continues to say the fucking exact opposite of her goddamn intention for every goddamn thing.
Like known suspects to have commentary, but it just ballooned to an extent that I really was not emotionally prepared for. So I tried to pretend I was okay with like all of this feedback. I thought, I'm strong, I'm superwoman, I can take it all. And what I learned is I'm not. I am not that woman.
Why? Why? Not even criticism. What is so hard about hearing the truth? And I asked people that, anybody watching this video, I want you to explain to me what is so hard about hearing the truth. I don't understand people who cannot stand the fucking truth. Why? You know it's true, right? If you just face the truth and stare it down, then your constant ongoing negative feelings regarding that truth will dissipate. This is why I use a black background. I use an abyss. I call it an abyss because a few years ago I read a book. And in that book, the author talks about how some people are just comfortable with dealing with the darker realities of life, right? And the vast majority of people are excessively uncomfortable with it to the point where if you focus on things that make other people feel uncomfortable, people will socially punish you for that. And that author called this behavior looking into the abyss. So people who don't mind looking into the darkness, and that darkness is something that everybody has. The reality and the truth about you lives there. The one thing that you cannot muster up the courage, the ego to say out loud is the thing that lives in the abyss. And this grown-ass woman who is almost 40 years old cannot face the truth about her weight, even though she has known it literally for decades. Just say it out loud. It's not that hard. I don't understand how people just go on in their life just refusing to fucking thicken their skin and toughen the fuck up. Ugh.
I wish I was that woman. I think we all think that that woman exists. And I think what I learned is that...
No, I don't think that woman exists. I think that your emotionally fragile, immature audience thinks that woman exists. And when I say audience, I know a lot of audiences on YouTube are teenagers and kids, but I don't think that teenagers or kids watch these videos. I think that there are a lot of very overweight, maybe teen to 20s to 30s to 40s to 50-year-old women who watch this woman. So these are people whose brains, a lot of whom have brains that are fully developed, and they still watch this woman and they still fall for her bullshit lies, and they use her content to lull them into a false sense of security that being overweight is okay. And I find that disgusting as a grown-ass adult.
She doesn't exist, or at least she doesn't exist in me. So I shut up about it, I hunkered down, and I decided to just not talk about it anymore. That doesn't mean I stopped.
And she kept eating in the meantime. Essentially, because this video was posted a year ago and she is only slightly less heavy as she is right here, and because she is so big, even if she lost like 80 or 90 100 pounds, that's not a lot of weight for somebody that's her fucking size. It's just not.
Working on it. When I started that series, I was hopelessly addicted to caffeine. I was sleeping very poorly. I had kind of not great relationships with friends. I had some issues I needed to work through with my family.
Okay, I'll give her a second to finish the video.
I also had a really traumatic childhood, which I don't...
So I'll let her finish to the end because I was about to say something, but I wanted to make sure she didn't say food. And I noticed in her little list, friends, family, caffeine is an addiction apparently, sleeping badly apparently, but she consistently refuses to mention what she eats. How is this possible? How? Look how big she is. Eating a lot of food is a main feature in her fucking life. Imagine an alcoholic being laid out on the ground drunk and talking about they just have a hard relationship with their family and they had an abusive childhood. They talking about everything but the fact that they have a bottle of fucking gin double fisted in their hands with a beer. Imagine that. Imagine that. She manages to consistently avoid talking about the one thing that matters. What she eats. And y'all watch this content and y'all support this fucking content. I don't understand it. Somebody explain it to me down below. Why?
Don't even talk about. Like, people don't even know it about me. I think people assume that I've had this, like, rose-colored glasses life where everything's been handed to me, and it's couldn't be farther from the truth.
I don't think anybody assumes that. I think people who had an easy-ish life, in my experience, are not super morbidly obese like she is. The fact that she is that big, excluding the lipedema, right? The fact that she has eaten herself to that big and that she is that emotionally fragile and she can't handle the world and she can't deal with it, and she refuses to deal with it, means that something happened to her. Nobody is this fat because they had a happy childhood. I wish people would really understand that. And I don't need to know what happened to her because she wears what happened to her on her fucking body.
I've literally worked for everything I have, and I've gone through a lot of pain, which I think in a lot of ways prepared me for what I do now, right? Like, nothing that I experience here will ever be as bad as what I experienced as a child. But when all of that happened, I started to resurface a lot of emotions that I felt I had dealt with, but maybe more honestly, I just kind of ignored or disassociated from or pretended didn't happen to me. And I had to feel those things. And I had to learn so much. I think when you grow up in an abusive family, you step out of it feeling like you're to blame. And you carry that guilt. Like, maybe if I hadn't said that, or maybe if I had done this thing, then maybe I wouldn't have been hurt. And I have carried that guilt my entire life. And I have held on to that guilt for my entire life. And it has shaded every decision I have ever made in my life. And last year, 2021, was the year I learned that those things that happened to me weren't my faults. And it sounds obvious, right? It sounds obvious that someone hurting me was not my fault. But because I felt deep down inside that I wasn't worthy of love, then I made excuses and accepted the things that happened to me as my fault. And I got into relationships and friendships where people didn't treat me with the level of respect that I deserved because I didn't feel like I was worthy of that. And it's very weird because I am a very confident person.
Okay, I want to stop her right here. And I want to say, first I want to say that I want people to understand the difference between empathy and sympathy. I have a lot of empathy for what she went through. Even though I think that this woman is full of shit, I do think, like I said, that a lot of really bad things happened to her. I don't think that she lied. I'm not going to sit here and say that she is lying. But on that point, I don't have sympathy for her. And let me explain why. I understand trauma. I understand abuse. I understand that bad things happen in your life. I really do. Like I do through direct experience for 18 years of my life. My entire childhood. So because I've experienced it directly in my own life, I understand what it's like to go through that. And I'm not saying that that doesn't really fuck you up for essentially the remainder of your life. However, with that being said, it does not absolve you, right, of other personal responsibility and accountability in other ways. So I assume she is alluding to some kind of sex-related abuse, right? We can all pick up on that. But even though that happened, and even though that was really terrible, and even though there's no excuse for it, I don't think that it is acceptable for her to continue to use that as a reason why she continues to not take her health and her weight seriously, if that makes sense. It's her health and her weight and her not taking it serious is still a big problem, and she is still highly accountable and responsible for it. And I hate when people I think that in her speech right now, I think that there is an element to some degree of manipulation. And I know when a person starts crying, people like to be like, if you say anything negative about a person that starts crying about something that they tell you that happened to them, it instantly makes you look like the bad person, which to some degree, in my experience, is often the person's, the storyteller's intention. So I want people to understand that. I empathize with Anna and what happened to her when she was a kid, but I still don't have any sympathy for her, and I still think that the content that she puts out, normalizing being overweight and pretending like it's not a big deal when we all know that it is, still makes her a bad person, period. And she can cry, and she can talk about what happened to her in the past, but that will not convince me at all. And I want people to understand that.
But I had this weird piece of me that was unconfident, that you wouldn't even know was underneath.
It's pretty obvious. It's pretty obvious. Anna wears the bubbly fat girl mask. And everybody knows what I'm talking about. The quirky, bubbly, look how much fun I'm having, extroverted fat girl mask. Like, this is an affect that a lot of really fat girls have. A lot of them have it. And fat men have their own version of the same thing, but no. It's a very common affect where they go out in public and they pretend to be super confident and they kind of hype it up. They kind of hype up their personality around other people, and they use it as like a shield to kind of block out all of the negative reactions people around them have to seeing how they look, if you understand what I mean. Have you ever been in a situation where a person was trying really hard to like be accepted in like a social interaction by other people, and then they just keep failing, but they try to like maintain their confidence and try to maintain their confidence, but as the time goes on and on and on, by the end of it, you can see that their confidence is completely destroyed. This is why I said I feel like this woman cries herself to sleep every night, but she goes out in public and she pretends like she's so happy and having a great time and living her best life as a 500-pound woman.
Everything else. And it wasn't like everything else was an act. I am generally happy. I am generally comfortable doing all of the things I do. I didn't know that inside of me, a part of myself that I couldn't even see for years and years and years and years, finally decided to be seen. And it was exhausting and jarring. And how this all came to light is when the winter storm happened in Austin. I was alone in my apartment and I didn't have anyone. And those feelings of being alone and feeling hopeless and feeling like there was no escape came back in a way much more powerful than like this experience should have done to me. And I realized that something wasn't right. And there were things I wasn't allowing myself to feel. So I remember sitting there, 18 blankets on me, Data next to me, thinking like, this is how I die. And feeling like I had no one in Austin that cared about me enough to make sure I was safe. And come to find out I did, but I just didn't believe I did. Again, that whole psyche messing with me. And I had to literally face this thing that had been buried inside of me for so many years. And it wrecked me.
How come this woman doesn't talk about anything in specifics? Like she refuses to talk about anything in specifics. She continues to be vague, excessively vague about everything that she is going through, which to me makes me not want to believe that what she is saying is truly, truly genuine. Do I think certain parts of it are real? Yeah, but I think that she is also mixing it with parts that are embellished. Like the 18 blankets on top of me. At your weight, you probably had one blanket on you. And again, I understand it's a story and you like to embellish a bit, but I think that you cannot both be talking about how you were abused as a kid, which is something that you say happened, and then also embellishing about really small details. Like, you never trust a person that lies about small, unnecessary things, essentially. And again, like I said, she can cry, and that is not going to stop me from criticizing her. I feel like people are going to watch this video and be like, oh my God, you're a really mean person for criticizing her because she's crying. But people use tears to control other people. So I instantly don't trust anybody who records themselves crying, edits the video, and then uploads it to the internet and puts a thumbnail and a title on it and hashtags, etc., etc., etc. I don't trust it instantly. It's disingenuous, period. I don't care what you're talking about. It is disingenuous. I would never record myself crying. That is the most bizarre thing that a human being can do, and YouTubers do it all the time. People just fall for a hook, line, and sinker, right? They just have to say the buzzwords, I was abused, trauma, anxiety, and then people just don't feel like it should be questioned at all. And I'm not one of those people. Like I said, I have empathy, but I don't have sympathy.
Emotionally, it wrecked me. And the first thing I did to try to combat it was to overcorrect the opposite way, make friends with all of these people that maybe weren't even healthy friendships. And so I had to relearn all of this stuff to get into a place where finally, and this is after, almost an entire year since this event, I've put myself in a situation where I feel loved and supported by the people around me for the first time in my life. And that's sad. That's so freaking sad that it took till this year for me to really feel that way. It's not that I didn't have friends. It's not that I didn't have the opportunity to feel this way, but it's that I didn't allow myself to feel this way until this year. And that is just so sad. And now that I see my life, and I love my life, and I've always loved my life, but I love it in a way that I didn't even know I could.
So this is a 17-minute long video. And right now I stopped, I think, at the 8-minute mark, and she is still talking about her mental health, trauma, abuse, etc., etc., etc. So I want to stop to point out something. Apparently, this video is also, I assume, about weight and other topics. She had a whole list of stuff she was going to talk about. But she is spending, in my opinion, an excessive amount of time, essentially crying and being extremely vague. She was a bit specific in the first few minutes because I think she was telling the truth. But then she started to get excessively vague after minute 3. And now 4 minutes later, she is still excessively vague, but still crying. And there are only like 8 minutes, 10 minutes left in the video, and she hasn't gotten to any of the other topics, which makes me feel like she is just buttering us up so that she could drop some kind of BS bomb on us and essentially try to sneak it past us. I cried in the beginning half of this video. I told you kind of some things that happened to me when I was a kid. So when I add on the part that I'm trying to like avoid telling y'all, I don't want anybody to jump down my throat about it. That's what I feel like she is about to do.
I find myself realizing that there's more things in my life that need to change. That there are still pieces of my heart that are broken. And that the only way I'm going to fix them is to make some changes in my life. And the more I think about it, the more I feel like I have to do it on camera. Because it gives this like layer of accountability that I don't know if I can find it anywhere else. Like literally, y'all will call me out on everything. So might as well just put it out there and take it on head first. I think the hardest part about talking about all of this.
She hasn't talked about anything. Like I said, she alluded to some kind of abuse early in childhood. And when she talked about that, notice how she was specific without essentially going into detail, which is something I feel like she shouldn't have to go into detail about. But then after that point, everything else she said is just so vague. I can't even remember what she said. So she essentially, the majority of her time she spent talking so far, she hasn't actually said anything. But she wants us to believe that she did. I want people to understand that this kind of behavior is a form of fucking manipulation. I don't care that she's crying. It's manipulation.
Is that I have felt my entire life that as a plus size person, admitting that you had a challenging youth, admitting that you had things happen to you that were horrible, would feed the narrative that plus size people are plus size because they are flawed.
Everybody is flawed. Like I said in my video about my kidney disease, 100% of the people on Kensington Avenue in Philadelphia are broken, traumatized people. Those are people who had horrible childhoods. Every single one of them. So her being this big is a sign that she has a lot of trauma and some kind of abuse in her life. Every single fat person, myself included, is overweight and overeats and uses food as a crutch because we have a lot of trauma in our life. Like, we can say that. The same for drug addicts. The same for gambling addicts. It's not a coincidence that all of these people have major traumatic events in their lives. So I don't understand why they continue to try to push this narrative that fat people are excessively fat like she is because no reason. There's just, oh shit, my wig. So I hate the idea that she tries to push this narrative that people that look like her, or people even smaller than her, engage in the overeating behavior that they engage in because they are not flawed in trying to deal with trauma. That's bullshit. It's bullshit.
And I never wanted to contribute to that. But my own story, my own truth.
There's no such thing as your truth. There's only the truth. To be clear, I wish people would stop saying that shit. My truth. There's no such thing as your truth. There is only the truth. You can have my opinion, but facts about what happened to you in your life is not your opinion. That is fact.
Is that part of the reason, and not all of the reason. I still have lipedema. I still have that condition to work with all of this. But
you still continue to fucking overeat unhealthy foods or unhealthy amounts of healthy foods. I love how she continues to avoid saying that. Lipedema did not get you up to 500 pounds. Every time I see like a video of lipedema patients with her size legs, every single last one of them are fat in the upper body and face. If you didn't know, lipedema affects the lower extremities and also it can affect the upper arm here. But that does not account for all of the fat in her face. That does not account for all of the fat in her fucking abdomen. And it doesn't account for the fact that 7 years ago when she first started YouTube, she was much smaller than she is now. She has gained over 100 pounds since she's been on YouTube. So she's lying. She continues to avoid the diet problem. But diet is the reason that she is big as she is.
Part of the reason I am overweight is because of the drama in my life. And because of the ways I coped with it. And
by eating. You coped with it by eating. Why does she continue to not say she's eating? Why?
Saying that out loud is uncomfortable and will piss so many people off.
No, it pisses me off that you keep announcing to us that you have done some really brave and emotional thing by admitting to something. You haven't admitted to shit so far. Notice how she hasn't admitted to anything. She has continued to sidestep the fact that she overeats daily, she overeats regularly, and that is the biggest contributor to her weight, despite the fact that she has lipidemia. I swear, people like Anna are manipulative as fuck. This is why I don't trust anybody that cries on camera.
But I am sick of lying about it or pretending it's not the case because it'll make somebody else feel comfortable. But in a lot of ways, my weight has protected me and helped me. And I know that if you've never been plus size, you'll not understand anything I'm saying. So I'm not expecting you to understand it. I'm expecting you to be shocked by that. But if you are, I hope that you can see that sometimes weight can provide a barrier, a boundary, a safety that maybe we don't realize. And I think for me, that has partly been what my weight has been. That doesn't change the fact that I also have lipedema, so like I don't even know.
So I agree with the first part of what she said. I do think that people use being overweight as a barrier between them and the world. I do think that there's some people that do that. They don't want a person to be attracted to them. They don't want people to want to be with them or express sexual interest in them, so they eat until they become unattractive. I believe that's the thing. But I'm just really annoyed at the fact that she keeps bringing up lipedema without bringing up her poor diet. I'm just really fucking annoyed with that.
Know at this point what I can fix and what I can't, which is incredibly frustrating because I now feel, based on my own discovery and my own work, in a lot of ways that my body is a shield I don't need anymore. Well, my body in the way that it is right now. And I want it to get to a place where I don't feel like it's masking me anymore. And I don't know how to explain this. And
this woman is working so fucking hard to say that she needs to lose weight because her doctor told her blood work is terrible and she's going to be in an early grave if she doesn't lose fucking weight. And she doesn't want to say it like that because Glitter and Lasers makes content for extremely delusional women. Like extremely delusional women. Women who simply don't want to accept the fact that being overweight is unhealthy. And that is how she essentially gets her money, right? And if she says out loud, hey guys, my blood work is really terrible and I need to lose weight because being obese and the size that I am is going to kill me early and I would like to live longer. If she said it like that to these people's faces, they would lose their mind. She would lose all her subscribers. She would lose all of her support. Literally, the vast majority of the people who watch her would disappear literally overnight and they probably start to attack her. So this woman is acting like this and she's talking like this and she's starting with an emotional story, an emotional appeal because she wants to appeal to her emotional as fuck audience who is essentially holding her hostage. She has signed a fucking deal with the literal devil by allowing her income to be based off this YouTube channel exclusively to the point where she can't really lose weight without going broke. Right? Because we all, as I said in my last video, YouTubers do not fucking want to get a real job anymore once they start making money online. They cannot conceive having to go fill out a job application and get a job at like a regular ass company because apparently once you go social media, you can never go back. So this is why she's going this path if you don't understand. If you are a person who falls easily victim to emotional appeals, I'm telling you don't. Because she is talking like this because she knows that her subscribers will attack her otherwise.
Any better way, and I know that this is going to get ripped apart and translated into whatever people want to believe, and that's okay. I've come to peace with that. I also don't even know what that looks like. What I do know is what that feels like, and I think that's an interesting way to say it. I, several years ago, lost a lot of weight and was in really good health. I was never thin. I was still plus size, But I was running, I was biking, I was exercising, I was enjoying my life at a physical level that brought me an immense amount of joy. The reason that changed, and this is something
You notice how she keeps slipping up and saying that when she was lighter, she was also more healthy? And then she tried to turn it around and say she was just enjoying life a lot more.
haven't ever discussed, but maybe people could have alluded from my videos, is I worked for a company that pushed me into the ground, burnt me out to a level I've never been, and honestly, emotionally was not healthy. And it triggered a lot of stuff, brought back bad habits, and because I hadn't done the work and I hadn't done the energy, I made bad choices. Not that...
Essentially, she overate and she gained a bunch of weight, and she overate and she gained a bunch of weight. That's what she said. She didn't make bad choices. She didn't fall back into bad habits. The only bad habit that she has, the most pressing bad habit that she has is overeating. Clearly.
Eating is a bad choice, but I made choices that took away my own joy. And I think that's, when I say bad choice, that's what I really mean. I made choices that took away my own joy.
How do y'all watch? How do y'all subscribe to these fucking YouTube channels? How? Like, I'm curious, how do people subscribe to these YouTube channels and just not just see the bullshit falling out of these people's mouths on a daily basis? Like, a minute by minute basis, she's just talking shit. I think she was being honest in like the first 2 minutes when she was talking about her childhood, but then from like minute 3 till now, she's just been talking shit the entire time. Essentially, guys, don't get mad at me because I need to lose weight because my blood work is terrible. She continues to try to impress upon us, and I want y'all to understand how dangerous influencers like her are. She continues to mention here and there my health, eating, and then she continues to switch it back and say, joy, my enjoyment of life, my activity, my physicality. She continues to try to push away from the idea that being smaller and eating less is a thing that everybody needs to engage in order to be happy and healthy in life. She continues to say it and then turn away from it. Say it and then turn away from it.
I put food over things that made me feel good because food protected me. Food was a thing that kept me away from other people, where these activities and these adventures brought me to people, and I was afraid of people and how they might treat me. And that's like the very real gist of it. Now I'm in this situation where, God, I don't even know where I can go from here. But all I know is that returning to that active lifestyle, eating a more balanced diet that can fuel that level of activity, is the way that I am going to release this shield, if that makes sense.
By shield, she means body fat. That's what she means. Smaller size. So she is trying to portray it like an emotional shield. No, she means literally a physical shield of reducing her overall body fat so that she doesn't die early. And her viewers are grown-ass women whose feelings are so fragile. They cannot deal with hearing her say that. So she has to say it in this roundabout-ass way. This is why I will never do YouTube or any kind of social media full-time. I will always have a fucking job. This is why I hide my face. This is why I keep my name off the internet. Because at any time, you need to be able to go back out into the world and get a regular-ass job. And I swear to God, a lot of YouTubers, I feel like, get caught and stuck in this cycle where they essentially sacrifice, in her case, her health and her life and longevity to try to make money on the internet.
And I don't feel like this is a 1 week journey. I feel like people watch videos like this and they want some transformation by the end of the year. I don't expect to be transformed by the end of the year. If that's why you're here, this is definitely the wrong video for you, because I think that this is going to be a lifelong struggle. I think this is going to be something that I am hitting roadblocks along the way. I feel like I'm going to cry a shit ton. I feel like I am going to regress and progress a lot.
I want everybody to notice how she hasn't actually like cried a tear in like 10 minutes, but she continues to scrunch her face up and sniffle like she is crying tears. Do y'all see what I say when I say manipulation? I think the beginning part, like I said, was true, but then I think everything after that was just bullshit.
But I think I need to talk about this because I am sick of every discussion about plus size women's bodies and the choices they make around them being dominated by two groups of people who don't actually represent the majority of plus size people. It is either these very active people who've probably never been plus, talking about what they think is plus size, who frankly just chose different coping mechanisms than food and like running away and hiding. Those are...
Okay, I want to stop it here, and I want to say I agree. I agree actually with her on this point. And the reason I agree with her on this point is I think that a lot of fitness influencers, or a lot of people who are in really good shape who have never been fat, I think they have good intentions. A lot of fitness influencers and bodybuilders and people that really like to go to the gym or do sports and activity, they like to portray their natural born predisposition and inclination towards physical activity as them just being of higher moral character. And I disagree with that adamantly. I think personally that certain people's disposition is towards liking certain things. And if you are a person who really likes to be active and out and biking and hiking and in the gym and lifting weights, etc., nobody is really doing that because they hate it, right? They are not forcing themselves to do it. It is not a chore to them. They really enjoy doing those activities. The best way I heard it described was somebody said that when they are working out, like they feel like their mind clears and they feel like they can think when they are exercising, like when their heart is elevated, when their heart rate is elevated. And that is the exact opposite experience that I personally had with exercise. And it took me years to get to the point where I realized I do not have the natural disposition to enjoy physical activity. I know that we need physical activity to survive in order to live, but going to the gym is not fun to me. Exercising is not fun to me. I don't like sports. Everything that I like and everything that I enjoy doing with my time is literally sitting down in a chair. I need to sit down in a chair at my computer or at a desk and literally laser focus on doing that thing. This is how I was able to set up the layout fully for 16 books in like 2 weeks. I literally invest all of my free time into that, and I feel like I'm not doing any of that as a chore. This is how I'm able to do it, right? But the problem is that because what I like, and I assume what she likes, our disposition is not towards physical exercise. People whose disposition is towards physical exercise, they think that something that they really just enjoy doing is easy for other people. And it should be easy for other people. And I feel like they don't understand that, no, it's not because you're just a really disciplined person of high moral character that you exercise. You do it because you truly enjoy doing it. It is not a chore for you. You feel better when you do it. You feel terrible when you don't. And people who are really into fitness, I've noticed that a lot of them really don't like any kind of activity that requires them to literally sit down and focus for hours without moving. They are the exact opposite, right? But the hobby that they really fucking love just happens to be one that also overlaps with being good for them and healthy and improves their cardiovascular system and their muscle mass and their muscle strength, right? So I agree with her on that.
My coping mechanisms, food and hiding. They just chose different coping mechanisms. That's pretty much it. And the other side are people who are overweight, who've made the decision that that's the happiest place that they want to be. That is the best decision for their life. And I applaud them on that decision, but that is not everybody's decision. And then there's people in the middle.
So basically her audience. So that's her like talking about like, hey, you guys who want me to stay fat so you can feel better about you being fat. She's talking about her audience essentially.
Who are just trying to figure out how to live their lives in a happier way, who recognize that their weight might prohibit them from doing things they love that make them happy.
Like living. Like living longer. That's essentially what she said. She continues to try to like pass it off as doing things that make me happy. But I guarantee you this woman is not fucking losing weight so she can hike a mountain. She needs to lose weight because her lab work is terrible. So just say that.
I am in that middle. And I'm not looking for a miracle.
She has been on the whole left side, I think it's the left side, of her group of people who are happy being fat for years. But now that she's almost 40 years old and the decision that she made about her health in her 20s and pretending like it was healthy until now and continuing not to listen to doctors results in her getting at least one probably chronic illness, I suspect. And now she realizes how serious it is and that she's not going to make it to 50 if she continues. And so now she has become magically morphed into the person in the middle. And the video that I made about my health, my kidney disease, At the end, I said that don't trust these fat influencers because they all have health issues and they hide it from you and they try to pretend like they want to lose weight for different reasons. And essentially, I didn't see this video before I made that video. That was just me guessing why they were doing it. And notice how she is literally illustrating my fucking point.
And I'm not going to be sad about my life until I get thin. That's not what this is about. In fact, it's very little about weight at the end of it all anyway. It's about recognizing that I have been hurt. And that hurt has taken a toll and has affected the choices I make in my life. And as I step away from that hurt, if I don't change those actions, I am allowing it to continue to affect me and continue to control me. But I also recognize that this is a fucking battle. No, it's probably more like a war. It's more of a war. And I'm going to have to fight for this, and it is going to suck, and I'm going to screw up, and that is exactly why people need to see it.
So essentially, that is her priming us in advance to say that I'm going to start this health journey, but I reserve the right to eat what I shouldn't be eating at any given time because I'm not a perfect person. Essentially, that's what she said.
I'm not here for a fad diet. I'm not here for like miracle 20 pounds lost in 5 days. That is not what this is about. This is about someone fighting to regain something that was taken from them as a child.
She's trying so hard to cry. She's trying so hard to reclaim those tears. Another thing that I learned from this channel called Martin Decoder is that he said, be careful of when a person's words don't match their emotions. And this is one of those where she's trying to like well up to get tears to come out. And because of the mask, I can't see if tears actually successfully did come out. But notice how she is struggling to do that. When you talk about something that is truly emotional, right? You try to hold back tears. You don't try to push them out.
And I deserve that peace. And I think you deserve to see someone fight for that peace in a way that isn't selling you some shitty product. That's it. That's it. That's all I really have to say. So this year, I'm fighting for me. I'm fighting for the girl deep down inside of me who has been hurting for a really long time and now just wants to feel joy.
So I'm going to stop there. So what she is saying is, I'll translate it for you because I'm very good at translating bullshit. She is saying that I am almost 40 years old. My lab work, my blood panel is worse than it has ever been in my entire life. It is getting very dire. I can't continue to go on pretending like not losing weight is not a big deal. And I don't want to die soon. But I also don't want to lose subscribers. So I'm going to make this 17-minute long drawn-out video, essentially indirectly begging you not to unsubscribe from me when I finally lose weight because I realized it was unhealthy. But I'm not going to tell you directly that it's unhealthy because actually I'm not a good person. And I can't swallow my pride. And I care about money more than I care about saving your life. So I'm going to sit here and tell you that all of the content that I made for all of these years lying about how happy and healthy I was being 500 pounds, I'm not going to warn you to not be like me. I'm just going to cowardly change directions and I'm just going to leave you over here to suffer the same consequences while I continue to make money off your viewership. How did I do?